Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ultimate Scouting Show here. Really excited to get into this one here. We are doing our Week 5 power rankings, reviewing all of the games after Week 4, and really looking at where these teams are at now that we've had a full month of play in NFL action. Let's go ahead and hop right into it. Before we do that, though, please, if you like this kind of content, like, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff helps me out so much. Really trying to grow this channel as much as possible, so I appreciate your support so much. Thanks. Let's get into it. At number 32, we have the Houston Texans, the only winless team in the NFL now. They just had to be in this spot at this point. They have not looked good the past couple of weeks after tying week 1 versus the Colts. Davis Mills didn't have a good game this week against the Chargers. They kind of fought back. Brandon Cooks had some nice plays. Dameon Pierce had some nice plays, but just not really, super exciting for the Texans at this point in the season. They haven't shown enough. They've got to be in this spot here at number 32. At number 31, I have the Washington Commanders. This team just inspires absolutely no confidence for me. Carson Wentz has not played well, and against Dallas, who has a really good defensive line, he was always probably going to have a bad week. The Commanders just couldn't get the offense going much at all. They have not scored many points at all the past 2 weeks, which is not a good sign. The offensive line, Carson Wentz, have not been on the same page. At least some good things coming up. Maybe you get Chase Young back here. Jahan Dotson's played well. So good things coming up. You just got to be better if you're the Commanders. It's as simple as that. At number 30, we have the Carolina Panthers. I do not understand why Matt Rule is still the coach of this team. I mention that every single week. But after being outcoached by Cliff Kingsbury, who I also always talk about is a terrible coach, I don't get what the point of Matt Rule being there is. At this point, it's just not sending a good message to the players. You've got to make a change. And I think now is the time to do it. The Panthers just look so uninspiring. The offense looks terrible. I think Phil Snow's done a good job with the defense, but Baker Mayfield just is not cutting it in Carolina. The offense can't get going. And against a really bad Cardinals defense, you've got to be better than they were. At number 29, we have the Seattle Seahawks. And I've got to say, I've been extremely impressed by Geno Smith. He has played legitimately well so far this season, and that's pretty surprising because he was a backup for the last 6 years. He was kind of deemed a bust after playing 2 years with the Jets, and rightfully so. He didn't play well, and he's been a really legit quarterback, and this team has some pieces on offense. Both Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross have played well at tackle. You've got Metcalf and Lockett. You've got 2 running backs in Penny and Walker. This offense has the bones to be a pretty good team. It's unfortunately the defense is absolutely horrible, but they've got some pieces, and this is a big win over a Lions team that was favored by a pretty significant amount. Geno Smith played really well, and credit to them for seeing that in Geno Smith. I don't know that they knew they were going to get that much out of him, but they said it 2-2. This is much better than I ever expected from them. Now, I don't think that they're a good team. That defense is going to hold them back. But I have been genuinely impressed with how they've done so far this season. So good on them. At number 28, I have the New York Jets. This team coming off a big win. Zach Wilson was pretty decent in his return. He had some mistakes. But, when things mattered in the 2-minute drill there, he delivered. And the Jets went down and scored a touchdown and won the game. And really credit to them. The defense played well. Zach Wilson had his moments, but he played fine. Breece Hall got the game-winning touchdown. I think this team is kind of gelling a little bit. I think that, I'm not 100% sold on Robert Saleh still, but I do think that they've made some good strides. So good on them, and we'll see if they can continue to grow and develop. At number 27, I have the Atlanta Falcons. This team can run the ball. Like, legitimately, they can run the ball, and we'll see how that continues with no Cordarrelle Patterson, who is hurt now, but they've been able to really move the ball effectively, just pounding the rock. And, you've got Caleb Huntley coming in. You've got Tyler Algier. Just whoever it is, they've made it work so far. Credit to Arthur Smith for doing that. Now, Marcus Mariota in the passing game is pretty anemic. It's not good, but good job from the Falcons kind of playing to their strengths. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Desmond Ridder relatively soon here, but the Falcons sit at 2-2 and tied atop the NFC South, which is pretty crazy, but, good for them. I think Arthur Smith is a good coach, so I don't know that this is a fluke necessarily. At number 26, I have the Chicago Bears. The Bears couldn't get the offense going once again, this time against the Giants, who are not a very good defense as well. They just blitzed Justin Fields like crazy, and the offensive line couldn't hang. They were really, really bad in this game. Justin Fields wasn't getting the ball out quick enough. There's one play where he completely misses Mooney on a wide open seam route. He doesn't even throw it. He takes off and runs. He had some better plays this week. I think that's not saying a whole lot, but I do think that he showed a bit more this week. And I think this is probably the first week you could say the team around Justin Fields hurt him rather than him hurting the team, which I guess is a good step, but it's not great for the building of this team this season. I just don't know what you're really going to get from this offense at any point this season. It's just so bad. It's so bad. And so, you've picked up wins against the Texans and the 49ers in the slot fest now week 1. You've gotten killed by the Packers and you lost to the Giants. I just don't expect a lot out of this team at this point. At number 25, I have the Detroit Lions coming down 3 spots here. This offense is awesome. Legitimately, they're really fun to watch. Jared Goff has been pretty dang good. Jamal Williams taking over for DeAndre Swift while he's out. The running game still looks awesome. They've got guys like Josh Reynolds stepping up in the absence of Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've been a really fun team to watch offensively. Now, on the flip side, their defense is the worst in the NFL. It is horrible. It is absolutely awful. So, they have scored the most points in the NFL and they're 1-3. You've just got to get better on that side of the ball. Aaron Glenn has got to get his guys rolling a little bit more. I know that they lack talent, but you've got enough pieces that you shouldn't be that bad. At number 24, we have the New England Patriots. I don't think Bailey Zapp played bad necessarily, but this team led by him is just not going to go a lot of places. I don't think that the Packers played very well in this game, and the Patriots still couldn't make it happen. Jack Jones had a nice pick 6. If you want to see that, check out my highlights video. I'll leave that in the description down below. I do think that the Patriots took advantage of the opportunities where they could against the Packers. It's just, this offense is not going to be very good. You did rely on Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, which I thought they played pretty well in this game, but you've just got to be better. I'm not sure that this team is going to go a whole lot of places until Mac Jones gets back, and even then, we'll see. At number 23, I have the New Orleans Saints. Man, this team has been an utter disappointment for me. I thought Andy Dalton played fine, and I'm curious to see who starts for this team moving forward because I don't think Jameis has played up to a starting quarterback standard, and I think you just get a little more consistency with Andy Dalton that allows you to be a higher floor team. I think that the Saints team just has not put the pieces together. The defense really hasn't gotten going this year. Matthew had a nice pick. Cameron Jordan, Davenport. They got things going a little bit more, but just disappointing. Disappointing for the Saints. I expected them to be much better than this, and they've got to get things in gear relatively quickly here. At number 22, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. I kept picking this team, and finally they repay me. I just thought that this team was too talented to be the last, 0-3 team in the NFL. And they go out and they play a very good game against the Broncos. I thought Carr did a good job getting Adams involved this week. They got Josh Jacobs going a lot, which really helped the balance of this offense. Darren Waller's still kind of nowhere to be found, but I do think this was a really good step in the right direction for them. So a good win for the Raiders, and I think they're back into it. You get a big win against the Chiefs this week, this could definitely be a team back on the right track. At number 21, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. This team finally made the move to Kenny Pickett. He did have 3 interceptions, but quite honestly, none of them were really that egregious. He threw into double coverage on the one. Just give your big guy a chance. Didn't work out. Forced the ball a little bit to Freiermuth, bounced off his hands, intercepted, and then the Hail Mary at the end of the game. I don't think that he played necessarily really well, but definitely like the move there. I just don't think Trubisky gives you anything at this point that you haven't already seen. And now you sit at 1-3, you might as well make the switch there. I just think that the Steelers defense hasn't looked as good without TJ Watt. I think that they need to get, the pass rush going a little bit more. The back end has had some nice plays here and there. Minka, Cameron Sutton have had good plays throughout the season, but they just haven't looked very consistent on defense as a whole. At number 20, we have the Indianapolis Colts. Man, this team has fallen off a cliff from where I thought that they could be at this point. I did think that they actually played better in the second half of this game than they did really at all in the Chiefs game, but they just dug themselves too big of a hole. Derrick Henry, we'll get to the Titans in a minute here, but Derrick Henry had a really good game against them. They really couldn't figure things out until the second half, and then Matt Ryan, he played his better game today, but I just still don't know that he's going to be the answer to this franchise's question about who's going to be their franchise quarterback for the next couple of years. And I just think that they've got to get more out of that quarterback position. Luckily, you do get some good contributions out of Jelani Woods, Alec Pierce. Those things are starting to develop a little bit more. So you lose Jonathan Taylor. I'm not uber confident about this team moving forward, but they're still definitely in the race for the AFC South. It's a competitive division. It's too early to, really write anything off, but disappointing loss there to a Titans team that I don't think is necessarily really awesome. Number 19, I have the New York Giants. I've been doubting this team for, ever since the beginning of the season, and I don't know that they're going to be a top-tier team. I don't think they're a playoff team by any means, but I do think they deserve a bit of credit at this point. I know they haven't beat the most impressive teams, but Brian Daboll is getting this team to play really hard. I think they're really well coached. Martindale had a really good game plan for Justin Fields this week, and I think that they deserve some credit at this point. We'll see if Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor can go. Otherwise, it's going to be Davis Webb playing Aaron Rodgers in London. Not sure that will even be watchable, but I do think that this Giants team has some good fight. They're well coached and a good win this week. At number 18, we have the Cleveland Browns. They lose this week. Disappointing game for the Browns here. Jacoby Brissett finally kind of came off the rails a little bit. He was playing so efficiently up to this game, and I just don't think he played very well in this one. Cordarrelle Patterson and Tyler Algier, Caleb Huntley. This team is just running all over this Browns defense. And, no Myles Garrett, no Jadeveon Clowney. I thought it showed they just didn't look the same defensively. And it's disappointing. You just want to keep as many wins as possible against especially bad teams like the Falcons until Watson comes back if you're the Browns. You weren't able to do that this game, which is frustrating, but I do think that they continue to show that they can still win these types of games. This was just an off game. I think you can beat any team right now, but you can also lose. So interesting to note with the Browns. At number 17, we have the Arizona Cardinals. This team won the horrible coaches bowl here between Kingsbury and Matt Rule. I don't think that they really played well. They didn't really adjust to anything that the Panthers were doing. They just kind of let Kyler run around and make plays. Marquise Brown had a good game. They had some good plays, but it's just this team is not well coached. Their defense is not good. This game doesn't really make me change my opinion at all about the Cardinals, as evidenced by them not moving out of the spot at all. I think they're fine. They could make the playoffs, but I'm not convinced on this team, regardless of a uninspiring win versus the Panthers. That doesn't really move the needle for me. Number 16, I have the Denver Broncos. This team just doesn't look consistent at all. I mean, you finally kind of get the offense rolling a little bit, and then the defense falls apart, which they've been great all season. The Broncos just don't necessarily look like they're on the same page. One side of the ball will hit, and then the other will fail, and it's just continuing to not work out. They have not put a complete good game on tape yet. They sit at 2-2. They're definitely still in this thing. It's just they're kind of a weird team to watch where they're going to be in a lot of close games, but I just don't know that they're ever going to pull away, and they're not going to beat bad opponents like they should. I just don't think that they've been a very good team up to this point. They've got some talent for sure. You just got to be better and more consistent at this point. At number 15, I have the Tennessee Titans. I called this team out. They were 0-2. They were struggling, and I wasn't happy about it, but I was feeling pretty good about myself because they were 0-2. I predicted them to kind of fall off a bit, and they were. But this team has some serious fight. Mike Vrabel has them coached up so well. The next man up attitude has really kind of taken shape in this team. And Derrick Henry had a monster day. He looks like his old self in this game, and that is huge. If he can continue to be that, this Titans team is perfectly fine. If he can't, then we're back to where we were 2 weeks ago. But this was a really good step in the right direction. Treylon Burks did get carted off. I haven't heard any updates on that. Hopefully he's all right. The passing game is going to get really anemic if he's not out there. But, credit to the Titans. A big win against a divisional opponent. Once again, kind of with their backs against the wall. You can't count this team out. And and they've proven me wrong already. So whether or not that, results in a division win or a playoff berth, I credit to them for fighting back and getting their season back on track. Number 14, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars, the highest rated team in the AFC South. They actually move up one spot here, but that's more just a product of the Colts dropping super far. I thought the Jaguars showed that they were competitive with one of the league's best teams. And that's kind of what we're looking for at this point. Trevor Lawrence didn't have a good game. He had 5 turnovers, 4 fumbles. The offensive line didn't play very well against a really stout Eagles front. But, this Jaguars team jumped out to a big lead. Andre Cisco got a pick 6 off Jalen Hurts. You got a nice passing touchdown to Agnew. And then the offense just stagnated a lot. But, I do think that they showed that, even in bad circumstances against a good team in the pouring rain, they could still put up a fight. And, the Eagles are a really, really good team. They fought back hard and ended up winning this game. But I do think that the Jaguars are figuring things out. They're learning how to win. They're learning how to come into tough environments and play well. So I'm still very high on this team. I like where they're at. At number 13, I have the Dallas Cowboys. This team has proven everyone wrong. And I didn't drop them super duper far when Dak Prescott went out because I thought that this defense could be really good. And man, have they been awesome. Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, you've got some really good pieces on that front 7. And then you've got Diggs and Jalen Curse and Anthony Brown's playing well as well. So this is a good defense. And then Cooper Rush is doing enough. He's held the fort down. It sounds like Dak could come back as early as this week. So, if they sit at 3-1 and get Dak back, this team is ready to go. They're ready to hit on all cylinders. CeeDee Lamb had a really good game. It's against the Commanders. This isn't why they're moving up so dramatically. It's just the sustained success without Dak has been really, really awesome to see. And the Cowboys are in a position now that Dak can come back and they're in a really good spot to make the playoffs and continue fighting for the NFC East crown. I know the Eagles are good, but the Cowboys are right in that mix right now. At number 12, I have the Rams dropping down 4 spots here. I just have not been impressed by this Rams team. You get pretty much blown out by the 49ers on Monday Night Football here. The Niners defensive line was just obliterating this Rams offensive line, and they couldn't get anything going. Stafford just doesn't do well under pressure right now, and all he's doing is just peppering Cooper Kupp with targets. They can't really get the run game going. For whatever reason, the 49ers have the Rams number, but I don't know that they've really put together a really good offensive game plan up to this point. They've got to figure things out here before, I really consider them able to repeat. I don't know that they are in a position to do so right now. So they've got to get a lot better than what we've seen so far. The offensive line is the big culprit of those issues, but they still certainly have the talent. It's just about putting together a complete game at this point. Number 11, I have the Minnesota Vikings. They sit at 3-1, and though I don't know that they've been wow, super impressive, I do think that they've played efficiently. And, Kirk Cousins has operated the offense really well. Justin Jefferson got involved once again this week, and he was awesome. This team has some really good pieces. The defense is still a little suspect. I want to see them play. I mean, they beat the Packers early on, but that's just the Packers being dumb week 1, as usual. I want to see the Vikings play a team with a really explosive offense that can keep up with this Vikings offense and maybe expose the Vikings defense a bit, because I'm just curious kind of what we'll see with them. They're not going to get that this week. They play the Bears, but, just interested to see where they're at. At number 10, we have the LA Chargers remaining in that 10th spot. They had a big lead over the Texans that kind of let them back into it. Jamari Salyer played well. The offensive line played pretty well in this game. Justin Herbert looked really good. Austin Eckler got going. It's against the Texans. I'm not going to put too much stock into this game, but I did think that the Chargers offense played really well considering, the injuries and the circumstances. The defense, we'll see how they do against a non-Davis Mills-led team. So I'm not really taking a whole lot away from this, but definitely good to get that win, move to 500, and not dig yourself a big hole. Number 9, I have the San Francisco 49ers. This team just keeps rotating between the 9th and the 12th spot. They move back up to number 9 here. I just think that they're so talented. They just need to consistently put everything together. And I thought the defense played amazing. Nick Bosa, my Defensive Player of the Year pick. That one's looking really good right now. He's been awesome. This defensive line, Hufanga is playing amazing. Fred Warner, you've got still in there. I thought Charvarius Ward and Emmanuel Mosley have played well. This defense is just so good. If you can just get consistent play out of Jimmy Garoppolo, just get the ball to Kittle, get the ball to Deebo Samuel, to Ayuk. Definitely in a good place right now, coming off a big divisional win there. At number 8, I have the Miami Dolphins. They moved down 1 spot here. I don't think moving from Tua to Teddy Bridgewater is that big of a downgrade. That's partially my thoughts on Tua. That's partially my thoughts on Bridgewater. Obviously, hope Tua's recovering well. I don't think that Bridgewater is a bad player, and I don't think Tua's amazing. So we'll see there how that kind of affects the Dolphins offense here, but I still think you've got Waddle, you've still got Bridgewater. This defense is good. McDaniel is going to get them in good positions. I thought that they had some nice moments against the Bengals, but the Bengals defense is really underrated, and the Bengals offense kind of got unlocked a little bit. So I think that this Dolphins team is in a good place. The hype has cooled, I think, a lot on them, and I think 8th is definitely appropriate for where they are at this point. At number 7, I have the team that just beat them, the Cincinnati Bengals. This team has a really big chance going into Baltimore this week to prove that they're back. And, they're hitting their stride on all cylinders now. And there's really one thing now that has looked bad. They haven't turned the ball over. The offensive line only gave up 1 or 2 sacks the last 2 weeks. They've been really, really good. And Joe Burrow's getting things going. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, all those guys are getting going. But the running game has been absolutely miserable. It's so predictable, it's so conservative, and it's just so poorly schemed up right now. And they've got to get things going. I think that they'll hopefully get back on track here, but we'll see. They've really got to figure out that dimension of their offense before I really consider them a top-tier team once again. But they have a shot to do that this week against a Ravens defense that has had some really rough moments up to this point. Lamar Jackson is going to be awesome. It's going to be a really fun game to watch on Sunday Night Football. Definitely going to be watching that one, but we'll see what happens on this. I think right now, this is a good spot for them at number 7. At number 6, we have the Baltimore Ravens, their opponent next week. I think that this Ravens team has had some really tough losses this season. Have a huge lead against the Dolphins and blow it in the fourth quarter. You got a big lead against the Bills. They come all the way back, tie the game. Lamar Jackson has that 4th down interception in the end zone, which was a really bad decision. He had guys open on that play, just couldn't get it there. And then the Bills march down the field and kick a game-winning field goal, which is so disappointing. I mean, this was a true, potentially statement game for the Ravens, and it just didn't work out. I do think that they've got a lot going for them. They're a really good team, but you've got to put things together for a full 4 quarters. And I don't think that they've done that in their losses. You're going to need to do that against the Bengals this week. So be very interested to see how that game goes. Really excited for that one. At number 5, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think that this team, Brady looked like he definitely was kind of back in rhythm in this game, which is huge because the defense is not going to give up that many points on a very regular basis. Patrick Mahomes just went absolutely off. I think this Buccaneers team played relatively well offensively. I think they had some really nice moments. They've just got to be a little bit more consistent on defense to really take that next step. You finally got your playmakers back. This team's in a good spot. I'm not really too worried about them. Number 4, I have the Green Bay Packers. I don't think that they played very well against the Patriots. I predicted the Patriots to cover that spread and was very right on that one. It went into overtime with a 3rd-string quarterback. The Packers they've got to be better defensively. And the offense has not been blowing people out of the water. And Rodgers didn't play well in the first half in particular necessarily, but they've just got to do more on defense. It's just so basic. It's just so vanilla. And they've got to be more creative. And you've got so much talent on that defensive side of the ball. Let your playmakers make plays. They just haven't done that up to this point. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs have got to get more involved. I think, Doubs played well up to this point. Watson had that touchdown, but the wide receiver room solidifying a bit for the Packers. I'm curious to see where it evolves to, but this team continues to win, and they sit at 3-1, and that's why they continue to be in this spot here. At number 3, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. They sit at 3-1, absolutely destroyed the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football. They looked absolutely awesome. Mahomes is playing out of his mind. He's absolutely fantastic. He's so good, and this team is a absolute Super Bowl contender. Just because they lost Tyreek Hill does not mean that they are not in that mix. They absolutely are. Just such a good, complete game for them. They looked like they were the better team from the first minute, and that they've been really, really good this season. At number 2, I have the Philadelphia Eagles at 4-0. You've got to respect this team at this point. They've just been so good. They've been so awesome. They remain in that number 2 spot. I just think that the Bills are slightly better. We'll reveal them as our number 1 team here. the Eagles fought back from a tough deficit. They just showed that, no matter what, they're going to be in every game. Their defense is just so good. Their offense, Jalen Hurts didn't play very well, to be honest, but they ran the ball efficiently, and they prove that they can win in a variety of ways, which I think is really, really important. They've just been so good. And as the only undefeated team in the league, they got to be real high. At number one, I still have the Buffalo Bills. This team, one more week, they might drop out of this spot if they continue to play like that. They haven't been super awesome the last 2 weeks. You do get the win versus the Ravens, though. The Ravens are a good team, and, it's a good job fighting back, but you can't put yourself in that kind of position on a consistent basis and win. I just think that they need to clean some things up, but right now, you got to keep them at number one. I think they're the most talented team in the NFL, and I'm going to keep them there until I really don't see that anymore. I think the Eagles and the Bills are closer than they've ever been, and the Chiefs, to be honest. That top three is really, really close, but for now, one more week, I'm going to keep them in their spots and just kind of see what the next week holds. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. As I mentioned before, I'm trying to put out content like this. We've got our weekly highlight videos now added into the mix. We've got this. We've got our weekly predictions. I'm still trying to put out some more content as well, so definitely subscribe if you haven't already. That would help me out so much. Like this video, and we will see you next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.